The reason I got involved was more than just police pension reform. It was to address the systemic enslavement of policemen across Nigeria, and by extension, security agencies who are underpaid, undertrained, underfunded, and people who work day and night with little or no motivation from their hierarchies. So, but police was the motivation because I posted a video of a police officer retired who was going to be paid 2 million naira that he said was so small. And it was so emotional. When I posted this, it went viral. And we started thinking about how to engage in a more robust, effective, and nationwide action against the condition of service of both serving and retired policemen in the country. But what makes it very interesting is that I have been a champion of those who have fought against police brutality. I have myself been a victim of police brutality, police torture, police extortion, and oppression in general. In fact, as of today, I am under some kind of indictment by the police because they charged me for saying that IG is illegal, which is true. But overall, you also have to take a look at this from the point of remuneration, from the point of the way the Nigerian state, the Nigerian nation is handling this sector, which is the security sector, which also has led transparently to a terrible condition of security in the country. So everybody's endangered if you ignore people who are working day and night to protect you without protections themselves. So, as you know, I have led several actions against the police, including being the first person to start NSAS in 2020. But interesting about NSAS was that one of the demands of NSAS in 2020 was also police pay, remuneration, motivation, and all the great things that the police were supposed to have. But of course, unfortunately, and unnecessarily, the police also participated in suppressing that struggle that was aimed at enhancing their own betterment. Well, it is a reminder that even though they have been playing the despicable role of protecting those who are oppressing others, they themselves are under oppression. And it came to fore during this particular protest when we stated to the serving police officers who were deployed to barricade the entrance of the police headquarters against their former colleagues who are now retired, that we brought here to you your mirror so that you can see what will happen to you on the other side in a matter of sometimes months, years to come when you retire. And I think that was a very surreal message that percolated this time around during this protest on Monday, which is now popularly and historically known as the police protest in Nigeria. I've done my calculation. I just don't come out to bandy around figures. And I want to put a caveat. I'm even ashamed that I said 500,000. They should receive more. But 500,000 is for me the lowest possible minimum wage that a police officer should receive. And they're also entitled to emoluments, allowances, overtime pay. I actually believe now that policemen should be paid on an hourly basis, and no one of them should be made to work more than 8 hours per day, which is the global standard for number of work hours. But I think it's reasonable, and I believe that it is actually not going to affect the economy in any way, considering that there are individuals who do nothing or don't work as hard as police who are getting paid even way more money than that. I give you an example. The people who are managing police pension at Pencom, go and ask what is their minimum wage. There's nobody there that's earning less than 2 million naira, maybe between 1 and 2 million naira. So if you are managing the pension of a guy and you are receiving 2 million naira per month, why is it a crime to pay the person whose pension you are managing 500,000 naira? But you talk about senators in Nigeria or lawmakers who go to work maybe only 4 times a week. They don't go on mostly on Mondays, and they go to work only 4 days a week. That's if they go at all. Those guys take home 30 million naira per month. You just oppose those and ask yourself, if their own emoluments and remuneration is not breaking the Nigerian economy, why will the one of these people who are protecting the economy, the people without whom you will not have an economy in the first place, why should you even argue that paying them well and protecting them and ensuring that they live well so that they can do the job that's keeping your economy going? Why would you even argue about that? It doesn't make sense. They are demanding an exit from the contributory pension scheme. And they are demanding parity with other security agencies who are not in the contributory pension scheme. They're also demanding that they should be on the same scheme as those of their superiors, especially the IGs, starting from Assistant Inspector General of Police to the IGP. These guys are not on the scheme. Why the discrimination? If the army is on a different scheme and they are doing well with pension, customs, I don't know about immigration, the police is demanding that they should be given the same opportunity in terms of gratuity and pension upon completion of 35 years as those others. Again, let's look at some of these elected officials. A governor that serves only 4 years in office has a pension that gives them a house, a lifetime of medical treatment anywhere they want. They're entitled to a house in Abuja and their state capital. There's 5 bedrooms. They're entitled to change of cars every 4 years. So what is the crime of the police that they are not entitled to this kind of pensions when those who do 4-8 years as governors have these humongous pensions and medical insurance that is also better than the ones of even some presidents of certain countries in the world? Why is the police being discriminated against? I think it starts from the fact that an average policeman has 7% of their salary deducted towards pension. And the federal government, because that's why they call it contributory, gives them 8% of whatever is deducted, which I think should be double that, by the way. But what we must tell ourselves is that the 7% of a low wage is small towards pension. And the first solution is to pay them properly so that the deduction can also be meaningful. And then at the end of 35 years, you get a lump sum, that's called gratuity, right? Of this 7%. So let's say you serve for 25 years and 7% of all the deductions in 35 years, which is supposed to have been invested on your behalf because it's going into a pension fund. You are supposed to get 25% of it paid to you as a gratuity, one lump payment. But if it is so low that you have 10 million naira, what you get is 2.5 million. That can't even take you home. So they need to adjust the deductions based on inflation and the value of the naira. So there's also a connection between the economy and the value of these deductions. So you cannot deduct 7% from someone every month, give him 8% of what is deducted, and then you go and devalue the naira and not think that his life will be devalued to the point that he will find no meaning when he's paid that lump sum at once. So we're saying, look at it realistically. What the value of their life is. You must adjust this on the basis of the cost of living, the value of your currency, and other parameters that will just make life meaningful. Otherwise, we are sentencing a retired person who has worked for 35 years, basically to death. And these guys, most of them are dying even before they can get to be paid their pensions. I mean, gratuity in particular. The most emotional story for me was when one of the commanders of the group that was barricading us from proceeding into the premises of the police headquarters met his father, who was protesting with us. And then he pointed to them and said, "That's my son." I thought it was a lie. And then he approached him and he greeted respectfully. And I went to meet the guy. I said, "Is that your father?" He said, "Yes. I'm happy you're fighting for him because I have to share my monthly salary with my dad to take care of him because his pension can't even buy a recharge card." So there are some people that earn as low as 900,000 naira as gratuity and 19,000 naira as monthly pension. What do you do with that? I was really proud of those men because before I even approached them, they had already rejected the soda, as we call it, and water that was brought to them. So when I arrived at the scene, when I saw commotion, I told them to move them out of sight. And then we then used our own money to purchase those things for them. But I was really proud of them. So many of them were saying that they didn't come there, they didn't come there to drink soda. It's Coke and Pepsi or Schweppes or water. That they came to fight for their lives and they want the kind of treatment that can make them afford it perpetually, not being given to drink by the police authorities. Most of them also express angst that they could be poisoned. So that shows to you the level of trust between former police officers and the current leadership of the police force. But generally, I know that they were trying to set them up for propaganda, so that they would say, "Oh, we are nice to them, we gave them drinks, and it was a peaceful protest." We don't need to reiterate that it was peaceful, and we didn't need the propaganda that you gave them drinks. And at the end, somebody is going to claim that they got a contract to supply drinks to protesters, and it will cost millions of naira. So, by the way, it cost us only 40,000 naira to buy drinks for almost 300 retirees that attended. Well, it shows that Nigeria doesn't care about its public servants. Nigeria doesn't care about anybody. It doesn't care about, especially I'm talking about the leadership, the people who run this country. They see Nigerians as disposables, people to be used and discarded whenever they want. It doesn't mean politically or in the security sector or in the educational sector, because what they are doing to this police is being done to teachers, it's been done to doctors. The difference between the teachers and doctors is that the teachers, doctors have unions and they can engage in political, they can engage in collective bargaining. But policemen are not allowed to even join unions, so nobody can speak for them except they can only grumble. And when they grumble, they are punished, because as we speak, some policemen who are even circulating the information of the strike are being punished by the authorities, but we hope to get redress for them. It's not about him failing to do anything, it's about the fact that the number of years that a person is supposed to be in police uniform is 35 years. Anybody wearing his police uniform after he has retired is engaging in illegal duty. It is our belief that with this guy still remaining in the police, there's a violation of Nigerian police code, that after retirement, they should leave. And it's my opinion, which is personal, that it speaks terribly bad of the Nigerian nation if the president of Nigeria cannot find out of 210,000 policemen somebody who is good to be IG after the one there has retired in 2024, it speaks terribly bad about the judgment of the president of Nigeria as well, regardless of what they claim is the law that they founded, that he was eligible to continue in office for another 4 years. And this also prevents other people from making it riding through the ladder, to the top. It is an extension of NSAS because NSAS had a 5+5 demand, which included police well-being or welfare. It's an extension of it, but it's also different and unique in its appearance, because this time around, we had to be fighting for and with the police. NSAS was largely against the police, but I remember that NSAS also demanded for police welfare, specifically. I don't think there's any protest by nature that is popular by the authorities. It doesn't matter who led the protests. Protest is not something that people in authority like. And you will find different explanations as to why they find protest unacceptable. No matter how peacefully organized, it doesn't matter who organized it. The only protest that's acceptable to those in government is the protest that says, we support you, regardless of how terribly you are performing in office. Those are the only protests they want and like. So I have lived this life of protesting against injustice for more than 35 years. And there was never a time I was liked doing protests. So it's nothing new to me that you keep hearing this. It's part of what has become the culture. Well, I've commenced the process of recovering my camera, and I've also written a petition for the individual to be investigated, identified, and prosecuted. Because we found out by now that he wasn't acting alone. He had a co-conspirator in the first PPRO, ACP Muyiwa Adejobi. He was the one who sent him. That's how far we've gone. But we're still processing this. If it requires that we sue them, of course, we will take legal action. But for now, we are towing the criminal investigation part, and we've written very solid petitions to the police authorities. Well, the difference between the police and these other categories you mentioned is that they actually have unions that can engage in collective bargaining for them. The police don't. Policemen are not allowed to join unions in Nigeria, so they can't speak for themselves. We came to speak for them. Yes, of course, we would have loved it if there was a solidarity from other sectors in the workers' community, and we're working on that. But this is one specific action that was meant for the Nigerian police force. And like I said, it's a historic one because this never happened before. The last time policemen engaged in protest was 2003. Most of them were rounded up, and we heard some of them were even quietly discarded as killed by the Obasanjo regime. I think by now everybody knows I don't waste my time on bureaucracies. I will not go to a government meeting because I know government meetings are designed so that things don't get done. Before this protest came about, government had been on the issue of pension for 10 years. I've done nothing about it. But here we are, just between Monday and today, they have promoted police inspectors that have not been promoted for 7 years. Some senior officers who had been hanging there without promotion were moved from position of assistant commissioner of police, deputy commissioner of police to higher ranks. They have also increased, by the way, the pensions of most of the retired police officers by 40%. But that's not enough. We want a holistic, overhaul of the Nigeria police force and to address the issue of how Nigerian workers are treated in totality. And of course, this battle is part of the larger scope of our Revolution Now movement, which is to completely carry out a revolutionary action that will change Nigerian society forever. Well, I've always been in favor of the social security system in the US, because I lived in the US, where there's a contributory scheme as well, and that's maintained by the government, in which every citizen, whether you are police, whether you have a job or not, we get some form of social protection. And in the case of those who have existed in Nigeria, who have a pension scheme that they are contributing, they should have double protection. One that's generally a social protection, whether you have a contributory pension system that you enjoy from that, but then you also enjoy from social protection from the government. Like if anybody reaches the age of 65, to have a different kind of medical insurance that allow them to pay nothing but get medical insurance, whether you've ever worked or not. To have food stamps for people who are struggling with lack of food, or food banks, or to have cooperative societies for the generality of the public, where you can buy things cheaper, as opposed to those who might have money to buy things for the amount that they can afford. So I, also support subsidies, especially subsidy for petroleum products, particularly gasoline, petrol, because part of why this is harder on these retired officers is because subsidy is gone. They can't even move. They are crippled by lack of social protection that the government ought to protect for all of the citizens. I always say this and I'll repeat it, we have gone past the level of reform. The stage of reform is over. No, these people cannot be reformed. That's why we are always seeking revolutionary solutions to these problems. It needs holistic overhaul, and it cannot be done by committees, whether they're ad hoc or permanent, or bureaucracies that are meant not to solve the problem. I'll give you an example. When they went back to the National Assembly, some lawmakers came and addressed them. Oh, we're looking at this next week. When they went back, they said it may not be next week, it might be next year. But ask yourself, why is it that the lawmakers themselves don't forget to adjust their own remuneration based on inflation and the cost of living, but they cannot do that for the policemen, without whom they can't even go to work? It's very sad. Well, my position that is that every Nigerian must be treated with absolute dignity, whether they have a job at the police, or they are teaching, or they're a doctor, or they're a street cleaner. It doesn't matter. It is equality before the law and equity for all. So my broader vision is to create an egalitarian society, but we can't do that if we have discrimination in terms of how we treat people. If the gap between the haves and have-nots is so large, if we continue to maintain a country with a reputation of the country with the biggest population of the poorest people on earth, or people who are multidimensionally poor, which is a new vocabulary for describing essentially people who are between life and death. We will not reveal now, but they have between now and August 1st to get their acts together. Otherwise, you all know about August. It's the month of resistance since 2019, when we started Revolution Now. So all these demands will crop up again, and there will be nationwide action and possibly international action by our diaspora brothers and sisters as well. So stay tuned. You know us. Thank you.